Go. All right, everybody, welcome to skill set training number 3. Now, the last couple of weeks, what we've done is we've talked about having great conversations where you ask questions and you don't offer a lot of information. And then last week, we started talking about some good questions to ask. So before we go on to today's, let's hear from whoever can talk about any good questions that you guys may have asked this last week. I do have a message from Mo in case you guys haven't seen it. She said, here's some great questions she asked in the last week. Would you be open to alternatives to your vitamins? How is your current routine of juicing working for your family? Have you considered all natural products? And what would you like your vitamins to do for you? Those are all really good questions. So, Cassie, did you have a chance to ask any questions this week?
I need to get some samples out to this one lady. Well, I asked her, she started talking about.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're having a lot of trouble hearing you today. It just keeps, you just keep cutting in and out. I can see your pretty face though. Do you want to try again? Okay, so here's the anatomy that we're looking for. So everybody write this down. We're looking for a conversation that leads to an invitation to a presentation. So again, conversation, invitation, presentation. So we're starting out by having really great conversations where we ask a lot of questions. We set the intention that we're going to have a lot of great conversations and that every conversation is going to lead to something special, okay? And during those conversations, as you guys become more equipped, you'll be able to ask questions that actually lead more and more towards a Juice Plus conversation, kind of like the ones that I just shared from Mo with you guys. And once you ask those kind of questions, then you can say, would you be open? Okay, and then you extend the invitation. Remember, every time you ask a question, and especially at the point where you ask this particular question, you do want to keep your mouth shut and let them answer. You've got to give them the space to think about their answer and give them the space to answer the question. And your invitation is to some sort of presentation. And the presentation could be anything from a short video that you send them to sitting down and having coffee to an actual like wine and wellness or juicy happy hour, anything like that, okay? But you want to get them to a presentation. It's very tempting when you're having these conversations to do a presentation, and that's what we don't want to do. We have a conversation, we find a need, we ask several more questions around that need, then we tell our story, then we offer the invitation to the presentation. So today we're going to talk about the story part of these conversations. Do you guys feel like you have your story down pretty well? Either your product and your business story? And do you have a handful of stories from other people that you can share?
Yes.
Okay, because that's what we want to do. So Jennifer Myers did a training for us a few weeks ago on create an impactful story, and you guys can really revisit that if you want to go more into depth than I'm going to go today. But basically what you want to do is you want to talk about what your life was like before Juice Plus and what it's like now. And that's pretty much the anatomy. And you want it to be impactful and brief, precise, to the point. But you want it to have an impact on people. So I'm going to use my story as an example. Now, there are several parts of my story, but when I'm talking to somebody, I don't give them all those pieces. If I have done a good job having a great conversation, then I already know what their need is. I've already got them to affirm that they're serious about wanting to fix their problem. And then I want to tailor my story or somebody else's story around their need. So if I was talking to somebody about depression, I would probably say something like, I've suffered with depression, severe depression my whole life. And I'm not talking about just being blue a little bit. I'm talking about like the hopeless variety, like the in the closet crying type of depression. And the really sad part for me was this is the legacy that I was leaving my daughters. This is they were seeing their mom. This is how I was showing up in their life every day. And that was really sad for me. But Juice Plus completely changed my life. I remember exactly the moment when I knew that something had changed. I was standing there and I realized I was having a feeling that I didn't recognize. And then I realized I was happy. Like for the first time in my life, I was truly full of joy the way God designed us to be. Bam, story done. Now, do you see the impact, what my life was like before and what it's like now? If I just said, I used to be really depressed and I'm not really depressed anymore, it doesn't have the same impact, right? So you need to get into the feelings. You've got to go and connect with your own story about how your life was like before and how it's changed now, because people are going to connect with that. Same thing, like if I share Michelle's story, I talk about Danielle having severe eczema. And I'm like, I go, she had severe eczema. I'm talking like she had no fingernails on her hands. She couldn't go to school, like severe eczema. Like I paint that picture for them so that they know I'm not talking about a little bit of a rash right here, right? And then I'm like, now you should see her. She's got beautiful skin, and she goes to school. She has the life that she's supposed to have. So see the picture I'm creating? This is kind of cool, Cassie. I can see you twice now. That's awesome. So are you guys getting the impact of this story and how this story works? Okay. And then the next thing I would say is something like this. I don't know if it's for you or not, or I don't know if it'll do for you what it's done for me. But if you're open, I'd love to share more. Right? Wait for them to say, yeah, I'm absolutely open. And remember, the key here is to say open, not interested. And then you share the presentation piece of the puzzle. Right? So what I was kind of hoping to do is that we could work with some stories of some people on here, but I know a lot of you are working today. Is there anybody we can work on a story? Cassie, how's your phone working? Can we work on a story with you? No? Okay. So I was really hoping that we could kind of work on somebody else's story besides just mine, so we could get some other pieces to the puzzle here and get some ideas from some other people. Do you guys have any questions about telling an effective story? This is going to be an 11-minute training today. That's awesome.
Cool. What about us? Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes.
I am, barely starting. I feel like my story's just not finished yet. I don't really have an after yet.
Right. Have you noticed any benefits in your body with Juice Plus so far at all?
Yes. So I do share, the little changes that I've seen, but I think, the main reason why I got into Juice Plus is because I wanted it for my parents. They're a little bit older in age, and I think it's really going to benefit, I think, once I haven't been able to buy the product for them yet, but I think, in the future, that's really going to be like the impacting story.
Right. Well, Zadi, I started my product and my business the same day as well. And I definitely didn't have a story. And to be quite truthful, I think the reason I had no problem jumping in like that was because I had done so much to help my health already. I actually didn't think that I would notice anything when I took Juice Plus. So I did use other people's stories. And the part of my story that was real was, look, this is what makes sense to me. This is fruits and vegetables in powdered form. This is what I teach everybody. This is a perfect solution here. And that's what I did tell people. And you can tell that part of your story. Like you can say, here's what's going on with my parents, and this is what I'm hoping to see. You can also talk about even things that you haven't experienced yet, but you're expecting to experience. And this is especially true when we're talking about a business story. Most of us aren't near our goals yet, right? Because a lot of us are new in the business too. So we can't say, oh, I've done this, great things in this business, but we can say, I expect to see for my future, or I'm excited about this for my future. So you can tell that part of the story too. But also having other people's stories, especially in the beginning, I think is crucial. I did tell Michelle's story a lot of the time. So Cole,
hi.
Yeah.
This is Kelly. I was going to tell you that I can't really talk, but I can a little bit talk. My part of my story is I have a cousin. She started the product 5 years ago, and she swears by it with her and her family that they don't get the colds anymore, and they have a better immune system. So I kind of used their story because I'm kind of the same way. I just started the product and the business at the same time.
Right. And here's the other thing a lot of us make the mistake of. We've heard some really amazing stories, right? And so sometimes we think our story has to be like that. You know, like Danielle's story is pretty amazing. My story about the part about depression is pretty amazing. In fact, most pieces of my story are pretty amazing. But not everybody needs those kind of results. There's my dog again. Not everybody needs those kind of results. Some people are just looking for a little more energy, right? Everybody I know... I have to let my dog out again. Thought my husband was here. Hold on. Darn it. I just tripped over my lamp and broke it in the process too. Okay, so most people almost everybody that you guys know, I know, needs a little bit more energy. And it is okay just to share that piece because that's impactful still. But a lot of times we think we have to have some crazy big story to share, and we don't. You know, if we just got a little bit more energy. So here's an example. Like, let's say, see if any of you can relate to this. A lot of times people get really tired in the afternoon after lunch, and they have trouble focusing to get through. You guys are all sitting at your desks working right now. I mean, that can be a tough time of day, right? So even if you just told the story of, you know what, since I've been taking Juice Plus, I don't need that cup of coffee in the afternoon, or I can sit at my desk and focus and get through the afternoon. That's still impactful. It makes a difference to your life. And if told effectively, people will get that, and it can make a difference to their life as well. So does that make sense to you, Kelly?
Yes, it makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, so who has a little piece of their story that they'd like to share so we can see if we can expand on it and make it really impactful? Zadi, do you have any pieces of your story that you can? I know you're looking around. I appreciate you guys joining us during your lunch hour.
I'm looking at Mo because Mo's like on the other side of me.
Ah, that's why y'all keep looking back and forth like that. That's cute.
Sure. So, all right. So I got into Juice Plus, right, because my parents are getting older in age. And, you know, one time I remember, you know, I was driving home and I was just thinking about them. And, you know, I started crying just thinking that, you know, what if something happens to them? You know, my mom has diabetes. My dad, you know, he had bad cholesterol. He has other, you know, diseases. But just thinking, you know, one day that they're
We're having some internet issues today, aren't we? Zadi froze up, Mo. She's probably still talking away. Is she talking away? So just from over there she comes. Okay, here's where you left off. I was driving and I was thinking. So Zadi, you said you were driving and you were thinking about your parents.
Right. So I was thinking about my parents, and you know, I started crying, right, because I started thinking that, you know, they're gonna be gone one day, right? And thinking about how, you know, they did have diseases, like my mom has diabetes that, you know, could be controlled, but you know, my mom is very hard-headed and she doesn't take all of her medicine, and she doesn't eat very well still. And so, you know, I thought when I heard of Juice Plus, it was really mainly for them, thinking, wow, this can really help them, you know, maybe extend their life a little bit.
Okay. So let's just,
what I'm hoping to see.
let's just hang on to that as a piece of your story. So this story, a lot of people can relate to, but remember, if we're doing a good job with our conversations, we'll know which story to share with somebody, right? Because if somebody hasn't told us their need, we don't really have anything to share with them yet, okay, and how serious they are about that need. But let's say, Zadi, you were talking to somebody who had some aging parents, who were suffering from some of these pretty common things like high cholesterol and diabetes. And you shared from your heart what you just shared. Even though you don't have to have an after yet, it still is a very effective story. And I actually like the fact that you shared about how you connected with it emotionally, that you were driving and you were crying, and you could say that. You know, one day I was driving down the road and I was just thinking about my parents, and they've got some health issues, and, you know, they're just not really taking care of themselves, and I can't imagine my life without them. I'm not ready to let them go. So one of the reasons that I chose Juice Plus was so that I could help have a significant impact on their health so I could keep them around for a long time. Bam. I took your story and I just condensed it a little bit, right? Because we want to get straight to the point, condense it down. You do want to have the impact, the emotional impact, you know, why this means so much to you, and connect with that, because people will connect with you with that. Just keep it precise. You could go into more detail depending on the situation you're in, but we got to get good at telling these stories quick and precise and impactful too, because sometimes we only have a minute or two to make that impact, right? I mean, if you're checking out at the cash register at the grocery store, you only have a minute or two to make an impact. It has to be a powerful story, and you got to be prepared with those next steps. Anybody else want to share a little bit? I have to really commend you guys for getting on here during, I know you guys are working hard and you're at work, so I'm really thankful that you guys have taken the time to get on here. So let's just move forward then, since you guys are all working so hard. Does everybody have a mobile business card? I really think mobile business cards are super beneficial. Let me tell you why I love them so much. Before, I used to have to try and get somebody's information from them, maybe a stranger that I don't know very well, and they're like, oh, you know, I don't want to give this. Sometimes they could be like, I don't want to give this woman my phone number, right? Now with the mobile business card, I just pull up my mobile business card, hit the button that makes it go into a message, and I hand them the phone and have them put their number in. And then I immediately, when I leave, put their information, and I know who it was and where I met them.
Is there an app for that?
I saved it to my home screen. So I just have the button right here on my home screen, and I just hit it goes straight to my mobile business card. Let's see if you guys can see it in a second.
Oh, okay.
And then down here at the bottom is a share button. I hit the share button, put it in a message. They'll pull up the message, and then I hand them my phone.
Okay. Is that on the website to go to find that?
When you download your mobile business card, it gives you the option to save it to your home screen. And I just saved it to my home screen right then.
All right. Thank you.
Sure. So it's super easy, and it's a super easy way to get somebody's information from them so that you can do the follow-up, right? Now, your next steps, again, I'm going to go back to the GoPro idea of saying, hey, I would give them specific instructions too. I don't send my mobile business card and just give it to them. I say, go to the first button, go to the second video. It's called Bridge the Gap. It's 11 minutes long. Watch that video. It's going to give you the largest overview. Then I'd say, it's only 11 minutes long. When do you think you could watch it by? Now, sometimes, especially with people you don't know that well, this may work and this may not. People you know, this should work well though. And they'll say, you know, hey, I'm going to watch it when I get in my car right now. Then you can say, okay, fantastic. So if I call you this afternoon, you'll have watched it? Yeah, I'll watched it by then. Okay, cool. So if I call you, let's say it's 4 o'clock good. If I call you at 4 o'clock, and then you pull out your phone and you start putting in your calendar 4 o'clock, and you'll say, great, I got it down. I'll call you at 4 o'clock to hear your thoughts and get your feedback. Now, not everybody does this, and especially when you're first starting to talk to people you don't know, this can be a little bit challenging. It takes practice to do. It will work most of the time. It may not work all of the time, and that's okay. But it's a skill set that will also transform your business. Just like not doing a presentation during a conversation will transform your business, being able to set the follow-up appointments will also transform your business. This is going to be huge for making it easy for you to do follow-up and helping people get to those next steps. Because a lot of times you'll send a mobile business card and they won't look at it, right? They won't take the time. If you give them specific steps and then you get a time frame for when they're going to watch it and you set a follow-up, they're more likely to do it. Okay? Because you put a little urgency behind it, and you've shown them that you're serious and that you're serious about your time. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so let me ask you guys this question. Who knows the difference between and why, not the difference, who knows why you want to set up a presentation separate from your conversation with somebody?
So you could tailor it to more their needs.
That is important. You have a great conversation, then you can tailor the presentation more towards their needs. But a lot of times if we do that presentation right then and there, it won't have the same impact as if we schedule an appointment for the presentation. Okay, whether that be coffee or invite them to something, you know, whatever that next step is you've chosen. And you should always have two in your back pocket. One is going to be this, A is going to be this, and if they say no to A, then I'm going to offer B. Okay, and that's if you're calling people to invite them to anything, always have an A and B. And only offer them one choice at a time. But here's why. A lot of times, especially when we're new and we're excited, we want to just share everything with somebody right then and there, right? And I have to be careful about this still to this day because I know I can help somebody's health. It's sometimes really hard to rein myself back in and go, hang on a second. This is not the time to do a presentation. I'm just having a conversation. And my intention is to get them to some sort of presentation, okay? If we just throw up all over somebody, when they walk away from that conversation, they think they know everything they need to know about Juice Plus. And you guys all know that it's not true. Because so many questions get answered in a presentation that are not going to get answered at that moment when you're having this conversation. There's so many things that people have questions about, like, well, how much is it? And why is it that much? And how is this different from a vitamin? You know, and how do I know it's going to work, right? There's all of these things. And so, and when we just share our story and throw up all over somebody, we're leaving all of these important things out. If we get them to a presentation, they're going to know about the nutrients in whole food and how it's different from a vitamin. And there won't be any question about why it's $2.38 a day. They'll walk away from that thinking that's inexpensive instead of expensive because they're going to understand the value of that product with all this research behind it. So by being very careful and having a great conversation that leads to an invitation to a presentation and having the presentation separate, you're going to have more success with those people as far as getting them on the product or inviting them into your team. Does that make sense? It's very, very impactful to your business, okay? And I know it's tempting to just tell everybody everything you know right then and there, but it just is not as effective. So the anatomy, once again, conversation, invitation, presentation, okay? And then if you are new, your presentation would actually should be with somebody who has a little more experience than you do, and they can answer a lot of questions for you. This can be a three-way phone call. This can be a Zoom. This can be a sitting down and having coffee with somebody. Any of these things will be effective ways to share the product with somebody with you, helping you out, answering those questions. I let my upline support be with me and do the presentations for a long, long time before I started doing anything with them because I knew that they were going to be more effective. And there's multiple reasons. One, I didn't know everything yet, right? I didn't know how to answer a lot of questions. They had the confidence and the belief. It was already hugely strong in them, and that comes across. But I also learned from them. You know, we get the benefit of working alongside somebody to learn from them. It's a learn as you go kind of deal here. And we get the benefit of watching them and learning from them. But thirdly, or fourthly, whichever one it is, especially with people that you guys know right here in the beginning in your hot market, if you give that person the credibility, they're going to listen to them. It's that third party validation more than they're going to listen to you because they know you. Right? But if you sell that person that they know this, they're, and make the connection between that person and who you're going to have talking to them, they're going to listen to them. They're going to they're borrowing your credibility, and then they give it back to you at the end. So it's really a huge piece too, being able to work alongside somebody. Don't try to tackle all this by yourself. So you don't have to. You don't have to. You've got a team here to support you and help you. So. And here's another real important thing. If you are doing a presentation alongside somebody, your upline support team, one thing you do want to be careful about is constantly interrupting them. That will still back their credibility from them that you've given them. And a lot of times when we know our loved ones, we want, what about this and what about that? You want to interject. It's better to have a conversation with your upline beforehand so they know the things that you're concerned about, the points you want to get across. And then you let them handle it unless they ask you a question and pull you in to answer a question. But other than that, it's really important that you let them do the conversation and don't take it back from them. Don't take it away from them. Does that make sense too? It makes a difference. And you'll see the difference as you start doing this and you're having these conversations with people and you're letting somebody own the credibility that you've given them. You'll see that those people that you put in front of them are paying attention to them. And if you do interject, you can see how it takes it away. All right. Any questions? Not right now?
No, this was perfect because just before I got on the call, there's somebody who I was talking to, and, you know, just you saying, you know, let your upline do the talking if you're new at, you know, some of the verbiage and, you know, or specific illness. And I'm like, yep, upline for this one.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's a real easy way to invite somebody into a conversation with your upline support team or anybody is to say something like, I really can't wait for you to hear this person's story. That's easy. That's comfortable, right? It's not like I'm going to get my upline on with you and we're going to talk to you about Juice Plus, because that's so uncomfortable. It's so salesy and scary. But if you just say, hey, I can't wait to get you on the phone with my friend Mo. She has the most amazing story. I can't wait for you to hear it. And let's get you the information you need to make an educated decision. Or she'll be able to help you solve your issue. Anything like that. Very easy. And more impactful and powerful, doing it in teams, doing it together. All right, ladies, it's been 30 minutes. I am so grateful for you guys spending this time with me. You guys have a great rest of the day. Keep having great conversations, asking great questions. Now we're going to start telling our stories and inviting to the presentation. So here's your goal for this next week. Make an impactful story. A brief, impactful story. I'd really like to hear your stories. Either you can share them on the Voxer group or you can come back here next week and share them too. We've got to get good at this by practicing. So work on your short, impactful story. It'd be great if you had a product and a business one too. Next week, I think I'll do my business one for you guys so y'all can hear that as well. So, okay.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Have a great week, ladies. Bye.
You too. Bye.